So welcome to another edition of Yorkshire Kris Weekly Exotic Gardening UK. So last week two of my daughters took over my channel and did a little tour of the garden. This week it's all back to me, and what we're going to do this week is have a look at some new plant arrivals in the garden. We're going to have a look through all the seeds I've ordered and where I'm going to plant them in the garden. And one of the main jobs I'm going to do today is wrap up some of my Musabazu hardy banana plants. I didn't really protect these last year apart from the bases, but it looks like, it's not certain, that from mid to late January we might get a particularly cold spell, and I do want to try to keep the stems on a few of these, so I'm going to wrap a few of them. So that's what's coming up in today's programme. So I just thought I would have a look at the seeds that I'm going to sow this spring. And the first one we have is Aristochia macrophylla, Dutchman's pipe, and this is a hardy version, a perennial of the Dutchman's pipe that you get normally in glass houses and conservatories. So the flowers on this are a lot less showy, but it's still got the beautiful big heart-shaped leaves, and it does have the little flowers as well. So I'll be growing that one. The next one is one that I grew last year, but this is a different type. This is Ricinus communis, and this is the different types of Ricinus communis from the Dominican Republic. So there could be all sorts of different types in here. So there could be greens and reds, leaved plants, and obviously these flower late on in summer as well. And these can grow up to 3.5 meters and have the really large leaves, palmate leaves. You notice so far the ones they say poison on, because they are very poisonous, these seeds. Now this is one that I did grow last year, and it grew the really large leaves, and that is Ricinus communis var Zanzibarensis, and this is one that's, like I said, lots and lots of big leaves, so this will be sown sort of about March time. Next one is Celosia plumosa, Pampas plume mixture. So this is the one which has really striking sort of purples and orange, like feathery flowers that should flower for a long time. So I'll be sowing that in February, March time. And there's loads of seeds in there, so that should give a lot of coverage in the garden. Now, this is something a bit different, not grown these for a long time. These are gourds. So these are climbing gourds, lots of interesting different types. So the fruits like little mini pumpkins and squashes. So they'll go around the garden and you'll hang down with the fruit in summer and autumn. But I won't be sowing them till April time. Next one is one of my favourites, it's Zinnia elegans, and last year I grew the dark red variety, and this year I'm growing the giant scarlet variety. So beautiful dark red flowers, scarlet flowers, like daisy-like flowers. Really striking plants, and these zinnias are the bigger varieties, so they grow to about 1 metre tall. Next up is another amaranthus. I do grow lots of different amaranthus and self-seed around the garden. And this is a new one for me. These is hot biscuits, so it's the browny beigey coloured flower heads rather than the purpley ones that I normally grow. And the next one I've got is given to me are some bird of paradise seeds. And if you look at the seeds, you can see here they've got these tufts of sort of like fur on them. So I'll show you how I germinate them in an upcoming video. And then in 3 to 5 years, hopefully, I'll get some nice flowers like this. And finally, I've got these seeds from New Zealand, Cacabeak, or the Latin name for these is Cleanthus puniceus rosea, and there's about 5 seeds in here, and this is like a climbing plant with these like red lobster looking claw flowers. So we'll see how we get on with all these seeds. So I've received this nice parcel in the post full of nice plants. Let's have a look at what we've got. I've just ripped open the side. There you can see we've got some grasses and some other goodies. So I'll just take these out and I'll have a closer look at what I've got. So here we have the 5 plants now that I've unwrapped them. All from Urban Jungle in the sale. And these are plants that are on the whole hardy, or nearly hardy. And these are the ones that I'll plant this spring in the garden. So let's go through them one by one. So this is Arundo Donax versicolor, a variegated Spanish reed, which I grow the green straight species type in the garden already. It grows to well over 2–2.5 meters tall, maybe 3 meters tall. This is a variegated form that's a bit less hardy, and it's not as vigorous because of the variegation, so it doesn't grow as tall, so we're expecting it maybe to get to about 2 meters or so. Obviously this time of year it's dying back, so there's not loads of growth on it, or fresh growth. That's a nice pot of it, and it will bulk up pretty well over the next few years, I'd hope. And that is pretty hardy. I had one that got through the winter of 2010, nearly killed it off but didn't quite. That was left at the old garden, so this is a new one for this garden. Now this is a climbing plant, and this is Cleanthus puniceus albus. So I'm growing the red form from seed. I'm going to try to grow the red form from seed this year. This is a plant to show you what it looks like, and this will have white flowers, lobster claw flowers like that. And this isn't 100% hardy, I don't believe, but we'll give it a go. I think I'll grow it in a large pot and let it try to climb up the side of the house so it has a bit of shelter and a bit of warmth from the wall. So we'll do that this spring. Now this is a very strange looking plant. This is a Farfugium, and this is one that's called Farfugium japonicum shishibotan, which is like the parsley Farfugium with these really strange crinkled leaves. It remains evergreen if it doesn't get too cold. And I've not had success with Farfugiums in the past. I've grown quite a few and they've all withered away, I think because they've been in too much of a dry location. So I'll keep this in a more moist spot and keep it well watered so it doesn't dry out in summer, because I've only lost these in summer rather than winter. So I will give this better care, and this will tolerate a lot of shade, so it will be planted in moist shade this year. Now this plant is a Beschneria. I do grow Beschneria. That's been out in the garden for about 4 or 5 years now. It's pretty hardy unless it's extremely cold. It has the glaucous leaves and it will flower eventually. But this is a different Beschneria. This is Beschneria septentrionalis. And this will grow not as big as the Beschneria in the garden, but it will have vibrant red flowers, which I think you can see in that little image there. So I'm really excited about planting this out and getting some really spectacular red flowers. A little bit of damage on this specimen, but hopefully that will grow out quickly in spring. Now this is another arundo grass, and this one's called Golden Showers. But I'm a little bit confused about exactly which species it is, because the label does say Arundo formosana, Golden Showers, but I've seen on the internet there's one called Arundo donax, Golden Showers and Golden Chain, so it's like yellow variegation compared to the cream variegation of the versicolor. I don't know if it'll grow like Arundo donax, so really tall and strong, or if it will be Arundo formosa, which is not as a tall plant, more delicate foliage. I'll have to wait and see how this one grows. If you do grow this one, let me know how it looks in your garden. So this will be planted out with the other plants in spring. But now it's time to give them really good water, because they're pretty dry, and I'll store them sheltered, so I'm going to put them into the garage by the windowsill just to keep them protected until winter is over. So if we take a closer look at the Musa Baju clump, you can see that I've removed all the old foliage. It's the dead foliage at the top, which has been backed by frost and wind, we don't need. But some of the older leaf stems I've left on just to hang down and give a little bit of extra protection. I've got rid of the top ones, and I've also got rid of quite a lot of the bamboo and a couple of the bootia leaves that were hanging over in this area, because if I'm going to wrap these stems up I do need space to go around these without the other plants interfering. And obviously we've got the main larger stems, and this large stem here I'm not going to protect, mainly because it's right next to the path, so I can't really get around that with protection, whereas these three big stems I can. And if we look down, we got loads and loads of little pups around, so I'm going to try to protect these. These eventually will take over from the main stems, which will probably, hopefully, flower next year and then die. Believe it or not, my Musa Baju has never flowered, even though I've had these for about 12 years now. I've had a few rot off, probably with old age. So we had this one that I showed you last year that just rotted off. And also this one has rotted off, and I've just removed most of the dead material, and inside you can see there's a pup there from the base of this one that's grown through the rotted old pseudostem base. So that will basically replace the old pseudostem that was there. So these large stems, they might rot off anyway of their own accord, but hopefully they'll get through winter and flower next year, so we have some little mini bananas which people can admire hopefully next year. So I'm going to protect these, so I've, like I said, cut the leaves off around, and now I'm going to get some big stakes to go around this clump and fill it with straw. So now I've driven 3 large posts around the Musa Baju clump, but unfortunately I can't find the sledgehammer at the moment, so I can't drive them in far enough to make them totally stable. So I'll have to finish this job at another time when I find my sledgehammer. But basically the process is putting the chicken wire around, which I've loosely done now, putting fleece on the ground just so there's a bit of barrier between the wet ground and the straw, because the next stage is to put straw all around the stems, all over the ground, and then do more layers of either chicken wire or fleece around here and fill more and more straw in here. But I'm not going to finish that until I get my sledgehammer and make these really secure, these posts. I'm going to put my fleece round, I either staple them into the posts or I'll use cable ties to secure the chicken wire. It's not cold yet for a few days at least, so I've got a bit more time to get this job done. So I've got a little bit of a bale of straw here, and I've got another full bale which I'll probably use all of to complete the task of wrapping these up. Now the weather this winter so far has been really mild. We've had a few frosts, but we've had no temperatures below minus one. It's been 0.8, I think, the coldest we've had. I'll have to check that, but it's definitely been very mild so far. So things like the Melianthus is completely untouched by the cold weather, as are some of the Aeoniums, but most have sort of blackened off that are left outside. But don't worry, I've got lots and lots in the greenhouse ready to plant out next year. Still got some cannas that are slightly green, the Musabaju's green in the centres, and overall it's been exceptionally mild. There's loads of flowers in parts of the city of Wakefield that are in flower. I've seen Rebecca's in flower, I've seen pelargoniums, so there's lots of colour to be had, and it's surprising really what can still survive and hang on when the weather's not too cold. But don't let that get into a false sense of security, because we're still in the early part of proper winter. The coldest month every year is almost always February. January is obviously colder normally than December, and then March can be cold as well. Although when we get to March we have the nice longer days, so it feels a lot more like spring and nicer. But February is normally the killer month, so we've still got some time for some cold weather to come, and it does look like potentially end of January into February could be very cold. So that's why I protected the Musabaju, and I'll have to give some of my palms much better protection, including the mule palm and the Trachycarpus oeophyllus, and definitely the Washingtonia robusta as well. But for now we can just get ready for that and got all the materials ready. So I've got the fleece and the stakes and the polycarbonate ready, and then once it looks like it's definitely going to get cold, I will protect those more tender plants, because the worst thing you can do is keep them wrapped up for months and months at a time. They do like to have the air ventilation as best they can when it's not too cold. Well, thanks for watching this edition of Yorkshire Kris Weekly. Got a few jobs done in the garden, got a few things sorted for spring, and some nice plants to plant out in spring as well. Join me next week where I'll be finishing off that Musabaju protection, and we'll be tidying up the garden. Join me then.